Oh, W. Sorry, W.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ronald White, and I'm an alcoholic. Uh, Thank you, Leslie. Uh, and I have the receipts for Soul Train, so if anybody's questioning that. Um, I Let me start off by welcoming Emily, Nessa, and Sophie, those who introduced themselves as having less than 30 days. Um, I want to welcome you to Alcoholics Anonymous. I know that while this may not be your first go round, uh, this amazing, I don't even know what to call this experience that I've had for the last 39 years. Let me tell you my sobriety date. It's July the 14th of 1986. I have a home group. It's called the Never Too Early Big Book Workshop meeting, which has been going on continuously since November of 1987. Started in my mother's home with 13 of us taking a walk through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We've been doing that every Sunday morning since 1987. Yesterday morning, I think we had about 460 intimate friends getting together, going through the book together. I have a sponsor. His name is Jerome Scott. I sponsor both men and women in Alcoholics Anonymous. I take all comers, anybody who thinks that I can be of help to them. Um, I say yes. I never say no. If it doesn't work out and something else needs to be arranged, I help them find somebody else. If that's the thing, all I know is uh, if God had done for you what He's done for me, I'd never say no. Uh, and so that's important for me to know. I started off today. I woke up this morning um, so that I could field a call from one of my sponsees, a lady who lives in North Carolina. She calls me every Monday morning, usually at 5 a.m. my time, but she had a snow day today. So we talked a little bit later. We talked at 6 a.m. my time. After that, I had a morning meeting that I went to, a regular 7 a.m. meeting I go to Monday through Saturday. I don't miss it. Uh, and then I talked with another sponsee of mine who just happened to uh, uh, had to go out and authenticate it once again. And so he's back on the horse, and I'm right in that corner with him because I know how difficult it is. If this were easy, I don't, for our new friends, if you're feeling anything like shame or guilt or feeling like you're not good enough or what's wrong with me, I want you to look around at these squares. The reason all of us are sitting here right now, at least the reason I'm sitting here right now, is because this isn't easy. It's not easy to stay sober if you're an alcoholic. In fact, you might hear people say, I'm a miracle, right? It's a miracle that I'm sober. And so I know it's a miracle that I'm sober. So I don't, when someone drinks, when an alcoholic drinks, it doesn't, it might be disappointing, but it's not surprising because it is a miracle to stay sober. Because this dread, fatal illness that I suffer from has not received the death penalty. Um, it has merely been arrested. My disease was arrested back on July the 14th of 1986. And there's anybody who I almost sometimes I take a poll and I ask, but I don't want to out any of you guys. I sometimes say, can y'all raise your hands, everybody that's been arrested? And so, Jimmy, you should raise both your hands, your legs, everything. Yeah. So I sometimes who's been and so and I ask once you've been arrested, look at Lynn. Lynn, I'm very proud. Even Lisa Marie. Uh, and when one is arrested, you go through that horrific process. You get thrown against the wall, your hands behind your back, you're frisked, you're put in the police car. Hopefully they duck your head so that you don't hit your head against the side of the that window and stuff. And you're in the back seat. And when you're in the back seat, you still have some hope, right? You're still thinking maybe they'll just let me go. Maybe I'll get out of it this time, right? But then if you go through that process of getting booked, where they fingerprint you and they put you in one of those, in those nice photo arrays, one of those lineups where you do those little poses and stuff, right? And then after they do that, DJ, what do? They put you in one of those cells, right? And when that cell closes shut, bam, right? The one thing that I want more than anything else is to be free. That's my disease. My disease, when it was arrested back on July the 14th of 1986, it wants to be free, right? And and you can best believe that when it was first arrested, it was banging those bars and stuff and trying to get out and yelling. And I'm sleeping in primary. That's the detox part of the Harbor Light Center, the Salvation Army Harbor Light Center that I was in. Uh, and I'm there and it's rattling the cage. The gorilla wants to get out. And I'm saying, no, 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 no. I remember, I'm fresh off that ass whooping I just got in front of my mother, a couple of days before. And I'm saying, no, no, I'm not going to let you out. I remember what you did to me. And the gorilla's smart. After a while, he stops rattling the cage because he kind of sees you're serious this time. Ronnie's not playing around. And so once he settles down, do you think he gives up? No, no. The gorilla's, our book describes it as cunning, baffling, and powerful. They needed to add one more word. They needed to add patient, right? Because the gorilla he said, okay, I see how this is going right now. I'll just wait. I'll just wait, you know, and the gorilla kicks back and the gorilla just starts going. And then he kind of saunters over after it looks like I'm relaxing over there. And then he says, Ronnie, Ronnie, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Remember when we used to have some good times? Remember when we went to the concert? Do you remember how it was when he starts recounting those memories of all those good times of drinking, right? All those times when it was just, oh, and don't let some, I think I'm gonna throw some words out. Don't let some vicissitude visit me. I, I like, don't let some problem come into my life. Don't let um, perhaps somebody breaks up with me or I get fired from the job or heaven forbid somebody looks at me wrong when I come into the meeting, right? Don't let something happen, some catastrophic event happen where I get unhappy with my life or with my circumstance. And then that's when the gorilla saunters up to me and says, see, I told you they were full of it. You know, and I can make you feel better. There's different ways that it comes at me and it comes in various guises and disguises and I need to know, just simply know this: the gorilla ain't dead. I'm 39 years sober. You see where I am because it continues to try to whisper every now and again. It tries to whisper to me those old homilies, those old things, those old sayings about this time it's going to be different. It's not going to do it like it did before. Um, I I've had a few the last couple of weeks have yesterday I celebrated my natal birthday. I turned 71 years old yesterday. Turned 71, right? And don't clap, y'all. Shit, that's so, I almost feel like a 71, right? I think we need to invert those numbers, right? I think we need to, don't they mean 17, right? Right, Ricky? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where the time starts to fly once you get a little bit older. It seems like those years just start, going. And so I'm 71. Um, 2 weeks ago, my mom passed away. As many of you know, my mom passed away 2 weeks ago. It's my first birthday. I had 70 birthdays with my mother, right? I was blessed enough, I was lucky enough to have 70 birthdays with her. It's the first one that I didn't have where mom wasn't able to make me a chocolate cake and, some other things. And but best believe I had accumulated many friends in Alcoholics Anonymous over the years. And one of my dear friends, Leon Mason, Leon is passed, I can say his name. Leon passed, we called him Strange, was his name in the rooms. He called himself a strange alcoholic. And Strange sponsored many men and women in Alcoholics Anonymous. It was an icon here in South Central Los Angeles. And Strange was a he was one of those, tough sponsors on, when somebody would come back to him having relapse, having gone out, and and they would tell him what had happened and stuff, and they said they went out because their granny died, and Strange, Strange being the man that he was, he said, so how's she now? You know, did drinking bring her back? Right. When my mother passed away, the thought of drinking never entered my mind because I understand that while they say some of these alibis may have a certain plausibility, some of these excuses may sound somewhat plausible meaning reasonable, they none of them make sense in light of the havoc that is created if I get loaded, y'all. If I were to drink, you would definitely you would have needed to have another speaker tonight. That's yeah, because well, obviously, if I drank, you wouldn't anyway. That's um, I I'm a nerd by trade, by heart and by trade. I love reading. I love um, looking at a lot of fantasy, a lot of television. I uh, I disappear in books because, generally speaking, I don't think I'm enough. That in the real world, I don't think that I measure up. I don't think physically I measure up. Uh, I don't think that I'm handsome enough. I don't think. Now, I don't know how a guy as handsome as me could have ever thought that he was. But anyway, that's I was delusional, obviously, right? They say self-delusion is what, but I thought I was ugly, right? I really did. I believe I was ugly. I was too dark. I wore these glasses. Glasses weren't fashionable back when I was growing up. I see people actually wearing glasses that don't need to wear glasses. They're just clear, and they wear them. Back in my day, you didn't want to wear no glasses because Four Eyes, Poindexter, Mr. Peabody, the professor, all the names that I was called while growing up, wearing these spectacles. I've worn glasses since the second grade. I didn't like me. But when I would read, when I would disappear into these novels, these books that we would read, me and Reggie and Ralph would read voraciously, addictively. Um, when I was growing up, we would check out the maximum number of books that you could check out from the library, and we would read our own all the books, and we would read each other's books, and and I would disappear, man. And I love that. That's why a byproduct of that obviously is that I was pretty good in school. I was well read. I had a great vocabulary. I had a vivid imagination, so I was good at writing essays. And uh, so, so being on the honor roll coming through school, you would have thought that I would have been proud of that. However, I have the ism of alcoholism, the I, self, and me part. I am very self-absorbed, self-obsessed, self-centered, as the book would call it, meaning that I always think I should have it all. I don't want to just be smart. I want to be able to throw touchdowns. I want to be able to tap dance. I want to be able, did I actually say tap dance? I guess like right, like Gregory Hines, right? I want to be able to. I want to do it all. But I can't because I'm human, right? But I want to be able to do, because you can change my circumstance and whatever it is, I don't like it. Let me fill in some bio things, a few bio things. Born and raised in Los Angeles, third of six. There's six boys in my family. I'm the third oldest. Um, Four of us are in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, sober members of Alcoholics Anonymous. Uh, uh, Me, my brother Ralph, my brother Reggie, and my brother Rod are all members of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's miraculous. Sometimes I tend to forget just how miraculous that is because it's miraculous for one person to be able to get sober, let alone for. And I hear other families talk about that, and I know, man, how great God is in my life, that I get the opportunity to have my brothers in my life like that. I got to experience what it was not like to be sober and then have one of my brothers not be there. My brother Reggie had relapsed after a period of time in Alcoholics Anonymous and struggled to get back. So I know nothing is promised, but back now on fire, right, for Alcoholics Anonymous. And so this thing I'm talking about today is very important. So I come through school anyway. I'm jumping around, y'all. Excuse me. So let me get back to school. I'm a nerd. I start playing a musical instrument. I play trombone. Even though I'm a short guy, I can get seventh position, which is the length position when you do it to slide out. You have to kind of tilt your arm if you really want to get it out there, but I can do it. So I'm a pretty good horn player. Uh, and I become a band kid, just like I can't play sports, so now I'm in every form of band. We was symphonic band, orchestral band, jazz band, marching band. We formed ensembles from those groups and stuff, and we went out and we competed and we won many awards. It was a very prestigious music program that I was in. But even while winning awards, even while traveling around, even while doing all of these things, I still felt like it wasn't enough. I am so busy looking at your blessings, I can't see mine. When I look back on my life, when I look back on um, the imprint of God on my life, it is amazing how blind I had been, that I could not really, and you wouldn't have known it if you had looked at me externally because I'm a good hider. I'm a good faker. I'm a good poser, as one might say. I put up a facade. I put up this mask. I put on this mask because I don't want you to see how uncomfortable I am in life. And I use humor to deflect. If I feel too uncomfortable, I'll make a joke. I'll do something like that, or I'll use a big word to back you off me, or do something like that because I don't internally just so confused because I look around me and others who are close to me look like they're getting through life uh, with no problems. I understand now that a lot of people struggle through it, and a lot of people wear masks, except obviously I'm selfish and self-centered, so I can't see that. I don't care if you're struggling. I only think about me. So I go through this life. I graduate from high school with honors. I get accepted on a scholarship to go to college. There was a character on a television show I was fixated on that I became my idol, and this guy's name was Perry Mason, a criminal defense attorney played by an actor named Raymond Burr. And I wanted to be because he was heroic in that show in his own way. He wasn't like one of those comic book characters I was fixated on back in the day. He wasn't Superman or Batman or Green Lantern or Green Arrow or Hawkman, or he wasn't part of the Legion of Superheroes, but he wore a suit and he was a regular guy. And I thought maybe I could do that. So I grew up wanting to be a lawyer. So I'm going to college on a full academic scholarship because of my grades, because of those things that I really um, uh, didn't want. I didn't want to be nerdish, but I was. And these grades got me in college. I went to a college called Loyola Marymount University, a Catholic school. I'm not Catholic. I'm Baptist, well, Southern Baptist. And I'm not really practicing that much right now. I'm just a spiritualist now, I suppose. If you were going to put a label on me, I don't go to church and stuff. I believe fervently in God. I believe in love and service. Um, and anyway, put that to the side. I go to college and I start drinking before I go to college because I'm tired of just being square and not being able to talk to girls and not being able to be free of this shell that I'm encased in that I don't think is too attractive. But it's funny, when I started to drink, I forgot all about that. that I did not feel ugly anymore when I started to drink. I actually felt kind of good looking. That when I started to drink, I was no longer just saying uh, uh, big words. I was saying four-letter words and being very comfortable with saying that. That all of a sudden that I was able to alcohol seemed to free me from the prison of my thinking, and it worked. Now, as with I know who I'm sitting with right now, so you guys may understand this. Alcohol, while it was a solution in the beginning, after a while it just started becoming a problem because my drinking progressed. It started off being the weekends on parties. I never drank on school nights, but around my third year of college, I'm drinking every day out of the week. I'm using all kinds of other substances that we don't talk about a lot in Alcoholics Anonymous out of respect for the traditions. But you need to know alcohol opened the door for everything for me, everything short of heroin. And so so now I'm drinking and using all the way through college. Now, when you drink the way that I drink in college, you can't study as much. So my grades start to slip and I have to keep up. So I start cheating, that I start my character change, that I start cutting corners on my morals. I start selling out, y'all, so that I can still achieve the things I want to achieve. And I gotta keep drinking, y'all. That's not even a question about whether or not I'm going to do that. I make it through college. I go to law school pursuing Perry Mason. I go to law school in San Francisco, and I end up crashing and burning after I get out of law school because you need to know this. Let me see. I'm really giving you the Reader's Digest version of this right now, the Cliff Notes version, as they might say, because I got 13 minutes and I want to get sober. And so I speed through law school via alcohol and a nice white powdery substance. I get through law school in 2.5 years. I'm 23. I take the bar exam. I'm 24 and I pass the bar the first time out. This emboldens me and makes me think my ego is now so inflated that I think I'm God's gift to man, and I think that I'm a boy and wonder, a genius. And so this makes me think this is the way you're supposed to live life, and life is a party. And so I party my way into homelessness. By the time I'm 30. I'm not on the street homeless. I'm living at home with my mama homeless, you know. And if you're a grown man and you're 30 and you're not paying rent, you're homeless. That's her house. That ain't yours. I'm not 6 anymore. I'm not supposed to be living with my mother. And so, and that's not to say there may be people who live with their parents here who are responsible, who pay rent, who do all that other kind of stuff. So I'm not saying everybody who live with their parents is homeless. I was because I can't even imagine right now what that might have must have done to my mother. Seeing me and then later all my brothers, we descended like locusts upon her house because all of us started pretty much late in life getting so she had no idea what was going to visit her later in life. My mother almost died when she was 55. My mother was 95 when she passed away 2 weeks ago. But she almost died when she was 55 because of the disease of alcoholism. Not because she had it, it's because her sons had it. And our disease wreaked havoc on her. And just know this: I suffer from an illness that is physical, mental, and spiritual. When I drink, I can't control the amounts. I have an allergic reaction to alcohol. When I feel like I've had enough and I know I shouldn't do it ever again, and next week I'm not going to do this, I do it next week anyway. Mentally, I can't stay away from it. Even when I tell myself I'm not going to do it again, I cannot stay stopped. And finally, the spiritual angst that I've always suffered from, the malady, that soul sickness that I have, the uh, dis-ease that I've suffered from all my life that continues to drive me back to the necessity of a drink had to be addressed. On July the 13th of 1986, I was almost beat to death in front of my mother by a guy I stole some money from. Um, and as my mother watched him beat and stomp me in her front yard, she did nothing to stop it. In fact, what she did was she watched it from her porch, went back into her house, and I found later on one of my sober birthdays in Alcoholics Anonymous when she was asked to share some remembrances about that day. She said when she went back in the house, she sat on the couch and watched it through the window. I said, "What?" I said, I said, "Mama," right? You're like, no, best ass whooping I've ever taken in my life because I have not taken a drink since that day. It gave me the clarity that was needed. It gave me the experience that I needed. Spiritual. I didn't know it was a spirit. When somebody's beating you, spiritual is not exactly the word I was thinking at the time, but it was an experience apparently that was spiritual in nature that propelled me to seek a solution. You guys have given me that solution. The recovery home that I went into had an H&I panel of Alcoholics Anonymous that brought meetings into that facility. And when they brought the meetings in, they had men and women sharing with me as I'm sharing with you uh, their life stories. And they intrigued me because they didn't look like their stories. They didn't look like uh, hookers and hoes and pimps and players. They didn't look like thieves and boosters and robbers. They didn't look like absentee parents. They didn't look like people who were uh, downtrodden. They didn't look like their stories, and I wanted what they had because I believed them, and I knew that I was just like them. So I started going to outside meetings from that recovery home. I started catching a bus to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. I started catching the van whenever the recovery home would have a van taking people to meetings. And I need to let you know, I fell in love with the fellowship before I fell in love with the program. For the first year of my recovery, I was knee deep. I went to all the meetings I did, but after about a year, I wanted more because I had been sitting in meetings listening to portions of chapter 3 and chapter 5 read. I had never done an inventory. I'd done some praying, but I hadn't done the kind of praying they talk about in our book, Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was living by grace. I was living on two legs of the triangle. I was living on unity and I was doing a lot of service work, but I was doing nothing about recovery. After about a year, we started this workshop, this big book workshop in my mother's house, the one I referenced as my home group at the beginning of this particular meeting. And they supplied the third leg of the triangle, and I became a whole man. I became the circle around the triangle because now I'm practicing what our program has handed down to us. These legacies that have treated my mind, my body, and my spirit, and I needed all of it treated. That I when I was a year and a half sober, the law license, which had been suspended for non-payment of dues, I was able to pay all my back dues, be saving half of every paycheck I was making from a little piece of a job that I had, and I was able to get my law license back. I was hired by the Los Angeles County Public Defender's Office, even when I revealed in my interview that I was an alcoholic. I had to kind of explain that 2 year gap where I wasn't working. And so I told them I was an alcoholic, and I told them that I was sober for 2 years, and that I believed God had prepared me to do that job. They gave me this funny look, and I thought that had axed me out of that job, but instead they took a chance with me. And it's funny because I got to meet some people that I see in these rooms at that public defender's office. One of my best friends, June G, uh, became one of my mentors in the public defender's office. Um, and I knew that God was looking out for me because He provided you guys every step of every place that I went. I met a cute secretary in the public defender's office and fell in lust immediately, and had a torrid office affair, and she got pregnant. I got to talk quiet because she's in the next room. I don't want her to think I'm talking about her. And she got the so, so there is a happy ending, right? We've been married for 34 years. And we've been through many ups and downs, but because of Alcoholics Anonymous, she's decided to keep me. You know, she's never seen me drink, but she's seen me act a fool. And thank God for Alcoholics Anonymous that I've been able to practice the principles in all my affairs. I have a son as a result of that marriage. She had a daughter who became my daughter, who's given us four amazing grandchildren. And when those grandkids run up to me and they see me and they call me Papa, I need to let you know that my heart just opens up when they say that. If you had asked me to make a list of the things that I desired from Alcoholics Anonymous when I got sober, Papa would not have been on the list. Because you see, I can't dream big enough for all the things that God has in store for me. I never know what it's going to be. And God is limitless for me. That the power that I've come to believe in sustains me through both good and bad times. And because I need that, because it's lots of bad times, y'all. You know, the hard times. You know, and I this is one of those hard times that we're going through right now. But we have been sustained. The day after the day after my mother passed away, my brothers and I we had tickets to go to the Rams game together. We do these bonding things where we go to the sporting, we love sports. We go to the Dodgers game or we go to the Rams or and we were at this Rams game. My oldest brother Will, Ralph, me, and Reggie were at the game, and we were in this lift coming home, and we were all reminiscing about uh, our mom. And you can best believe that that would not have been possible had it not been for Alcoholics Anonymous. See, I don't want to shortchange the power, and everything that the power is given to me is a direct result of the 12 steps of our program. The admission of complete defeat, which led to recreation. Uh, that that coming to believe that there is a power. I had always known that there was a God, but I didn't think that it was a God I wanted any relationship with because I thought it was a punishing God when all the time it was a forgiving and loving God. When I decided to made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of this power, I made the power like I treated it like it was a money manager, but instead it was a life manager because I had mismanaged my life all of this time and I needed new management. And so when I gave my life over to the care of this power that I come to believe was loving and forgiving, they told me that I needed to do some things to make sure that I continued to leave it in God's hands. I needed to write some things about myself that continued to block me from that relationship. And so I did this inventory and then I shared it with my sponsor, with Jerome. And when we talked about it, I learned that there are some things in me, this self-righteousness, this judgment, these things in my character that must be uh, uh, that God removes. I can't remove it. I had to pray again and ask God to remove those things just as he removed the obsession to drink. And so I did that prayer. And then I went about making the list of the people that I had harmed over the course of my misdeeds, over the course of all this madness that I had done. That amends process is so um, I don't even know what word to give it. When I sat down with my mother, and she accepted that money, and every month when I came back and made that payment, to see the renewal of trust and hope in her to receive it, I see it. Oh, I'm so happy. You know something, y'all. Let me just explain something to you why I'm happy because when I set my clock. I set it normally I set it at how long I have to share, like 40 minutes or something like that. Today I set it at 35 minutes because I said I know I'm gonna be talking, and so when I get to the end, I want to make sure that I have 5 minutes to wrap. And I forgot I had set it that way, and I'm looking at the clock. I said, "Oh, I only got about 20 seconds left, and I have a whole 5 minutes. Oh shoot, let me oh no, I'm gonna keep going. Uh, so, so, so I make these amends, and you need to know this: that one of the most powerful amends I made wasn't off conduct that I had done when I was drinking. It was conduct I had done in my marriage. Oh, there's that 5 minute thing. Be quiet. All right. And so when I'm able to practice the principles in my life in every way, there's something that occurs that, um, and I know that it said in the forward to the first edition, it said that we are sure that our way of living has its advantages for all. And I know that these 12 steps are not just um rules and disciplines that we just practice there. They actually have taught me a way of life, a way to live that sustains me right now. And when practice, wash, rinse, repeat, step 10, wash, rinse, repeat on a daily basis, continue to watch. And when these crop up, address them immediately. And every morning I get up real early, sit in the dark. I have a series of prayers that a good friend of mine sends me a series of meditations, some writings from all of our literature. Um, and I go through these writings and I center myself and I get quiet. And then I start taking calls from the people that have allowed me to be in their lives. Thank God. Thank God for Alcoholics Anonymous. Some of them are on here right now that I get the opportunity. They share their lives with me. And my life has grown exponentially as a result of people including me in theirs. I am no longer centered on self, the solution to my problem, right? To be rid of self, and it seems like my life has been recreated as a direct result of that. I don't know. I kind of feel like I don't want to be all preachy and everything today. And I feel like I'm getting that way. So I'm about to, and since I thought my time was almost up, I really almost really finished talking about what I want to talk about, which is having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. We tried to carry this message to other alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Um, that is my hope. That is my prayer that I continue to be able to do that. That I continue to be able to try to walk in the footsteps, in the footprints of those who came before me, and to walk side by side, shoulder to shoulder with those of you who are here right now. Um, what a blessing, right? To have this thing called Alcoholics Anonymous. Leslie, thank you. Thank you for entrusting this with me. I was supposed to speak next week, but because of my mom's funeral next week, some kind people who actually let me work for them changed up my work schedule so that I would have to work on Monday that particular week. So wouldn't have been able to come. And Leslie was so accommodating. So Leslie, thank you. I appreciate you. And whoever it was that switched with me, I appreciate them. And all of you, for all of you who are here today, I love you dearly. My name's Ronald White. I'm an alcoholic.